Hello and welcome to your Recipe for Financial Success with me, Emma, and my colleagues Becky and Julie.
In each episode, we'll be bringing you a list of ingredients to help you cook up a storm and master methods to finesse your finances. We'll be helping you expand your repertoire and hopefully teach you a few new skills along the way.
So, clear the counters and get your mixing bowls ready for today's recipe. Let's get started.
So, have we had a good week this week, ladies?
We have indeed. We actually went out for lunch yesterday.
Ooh, ladies at lunch. Where did you go? Somewhere nice?
We went to the Orangery at Ketteringham Hall.
Ooh, very nice. I've never been there, to be honest.
Well, I hadn't been there before either, but it was very nice. We got to sit outside because the weather was very kind to us.
Lovely.
And we all had a sandwich and a piece of cake and a cup of tea. So it was all very civilised.
I was going to say, that sounds very civilised.
Oh, don't forget those glasses of Prosecco as well, Becky.
I wasn't going to mention them to Emma and make her jealous.
Yeah, where was my invite?
Oops, sorry, Emma. Next time.
I'll let you off just this once.
How's your week been, Emma?
Well, I've been slaving away all week while you obviously go off gallivanting and having fun, but I've had a good week, don't you worry.
You'll have to join the Ladies at Lunch Club and then we'll let you come next time.
I'm putting my name down for that, definitely.
Yes, sign up here.
Okay, all right then, Becky, you think it's time to introduce today's episode?
So, in today's episode, we are going to be sieving through the ingredients that you need for income protection. So, Emma, start off by telling us what income protection actually is.
Income protection. Some people might not know it known as that. Some people may call it permanent health insurance, but they're both exactly the same thing, and it does just what it says on the tin. So what it means is protecting your income if you can't work, whether it be through illness or injury. So it means your income is going to continue until either you're well enough to return to work, or maybe you just retire.
Oh, okay, that sounds pretty good. So if I was ill tomorrow, would the plan to start paying out straight away if I couldn't work?
It depends completely from the point of view, when you initially set up your policy, you would choose a waiting period, which is also known as a deferred period. And what that means is you would choose a period of time, so say 4 weeks, and then after 4 weeks of being unable to work, then it would start to replace your income. So you'd still need to have some money behind you in the bank or somewhere, just for those first few weeks before it does start paying out to you.
So it pays while I'm ill and off work. So what happens when I'm better and return to work?
So that's a really important feature. What it does is pays you money until you go back to work. Obviously, you'll then go back to work and have your income. But if you were to fall ill again or had another injury, it's then going to pay out again. So you could make another claim on the same policy.
Oh, that sounds pretty good. Isn't that the same as like critical illness cover though?
Not quite. Critical illness would just give you one lump sum payment. So it might say give you £50,000 if that was what you were covered for, and that would have to last you for the entire time you were off. So if you were in your early 20s, say, and it was meant to be paying out till retirement, is that £50,000 really going to last?
Probably not.
No. So an income protection policy is going to give you a regular income for the period of time that you've chosen to cover you for.
So, scare us, Emma. When should we think about getting an income protection policy?
Well, possibly now. If you're working age and you're worried that if you were ill and you didn't have an income or benefits wouldn't be adequate to cover your outgoings, then probably you need it right now.
I've got a bit of a confession here. I actually have an income protection plan which I took out when I was about 18 when I first started working in the industry. And because it was on staff rates at the time, I've never cancelled it because it's been such a good plan.
But have you just got that plan now, or have you got an additional one too?
I have an additional one and they are both increasing.
That's okay then. The only reason I was saying that is obviously I'm guessing your income back then was probably very different to what it is now.
Yes, it was. That was quite a few years ago now.
So always good to make sure that we review our policies and that we've got the adequate cover in place. So when you're looking at income protection, you need to ask yourself a few questions. If the answer's no, then income protection could probably help get you out of a very sticky situation. So the first question to ask yourself is, could you survive on just your sick pay?
No.
So when we're talking about sick pay, think about your employer. So some employers would only give you statutory sick pay. Some may give you 6 months full pay, 6 months half pay. So it's going to vary for everybody and be very, very different. But you need to consider, in your situation, would that last?
I think also, what happens if you just changed job recently? That's something to think about then as well.
Definitely, because some employers will put a limit on it and not obviously pay that out immediately. You'll had to have worked there for a certain amount of time before you'll get that benefit. The next question is, could you survive on any benefits you may be entitled to from the government? So if you've been injured or whatever reason it may be, you may be entitled to some kind of allowance from the government as well. So whilst they're really, really helpful for most people that have had a half decent job with a regular income for quite some time, it's unlikely that the benefits from the state are going to be enough to cover all of your outgoings. Another question is, do you have enough savings? So like I said earlier, being at a young age, if you were unable to work now through to retirement, would you be able to afford it? So me being 27 at the moment, I know that I definitely couldn't survive until my state retirement age of 68 with the savings that I have at the moment. I wish I could, don't get me wrong, but I definitely can't. Another question is, could you take early retirement from work if you couldn't do your job anymore? So the final one to think about is whether your family could support you. Do you think your family would be able to support either of you if you couldn't work anymore?
Well, I know with me and my husband, we could probably be okay. We'd probably be okay for a little bit of time, but anything over probably 3 or 4 months, we'd sort of then have to start cutting out the finer things in life, shall we say.
Yeah, and once you've kind of moved out of home and you've got your own independence, you wouldn't want to be going back to parents and kind of relying on extended family to be helping you in this situation either. So, like I say, all really important things to consider when reviewing your income protection.
So you've already mentioned statutory sick pay from the government. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Of course I can. So most people that are employed would receive some kind of sick pay, but statutory sick pay is at the moment around about £98.85 a week. And I say around about, that's a very precise amount at the moment. But that works out to approximately £5,100 per year. So I don't know about you, but that sounds like a massive pay cut to me.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Emma.
So your statutory sick pay can only be paid by your employer for up to 28 weeks. And then after 28 weeks, that money would stop.
Ouch.
Yeah. So obviously is very important to make sure you've got some cover. But as I said about earlier, you can have a deferred period on an income protection plan. So if you know that you were going to be getting, or you could be entitled to statutory sick pay from your employer, you may choose to take a deferred period on a protection policy of 28 weeks. You know that you would be getting that £98.85 per week. And then after that, you'd start getting your money from your policy that you'd put in place. So it may be a case of taking a big pay cut initially, but it would see you through.
So what about if £98.85 was just too an unrealistic amount of money that you could afford to live on?
Then you don't have to wait 28 weeks to start an income protection policy. You can still take out a policy with a shorter deferred period. With income protection, though, they will only pay normally around kind of 60 to 70% of your usual income. So if you're getting, say, around about £100 a week from your statutory sick pay, they'll then top it up to what your 60% of your normal income would be and pay out that amount to you.
I guess the plans are set up like that so you have some sort of incentive to actually return to work.
Definitely, because how many people would just sit at home and do nothing if they thought that they could get paid exactly the same as if they actually went to work?
Yeah, I reckon quite a lot of people would take you up on that offer, Emma.
Yeah, I think so too. So there's definitely that in place to make sure there's an incentive to go back to work.
But I guess also the protection there if you really just can't go back to work, because some people are desperate to work but obviously can't due to various illnesses.
Exactly. So is there in place for both types of people.
We've talked about employed people. What about self-employed people?
So this is going to be a massive advantage to self-employed because they're obviously not going to have any entitlement at all to the statutory sick pay because they don't have an employer. So if they can't work and say they're a tradesperson that relies on going out and physically building or doing something physical every day, and they've got a broken arm or a broken leg and they can't go out and do it, and they work alone and they haven't got a team of people behind them, it's more than likely that their income is just going to stop immediately. And like we've said before, if you haven't got a huge amount of savings behind you, it's really good to have something in place. So what you can get with an income protection policy is something called day one protection.
Go on.
So day one protection means that you don't necessarily have to wait 4 weeks, 28 weeks, whatever that deferred period you've chosen is. You can have it so it pays out from literally day one. So if you were unable to work from tomorrow, you could contact them. You'd have to obviously give all the reasons why they are. They'd want evidence of that. And then obviously it could start immediately. I will just add in here that at the moment, lots of providers are very, very reluctant to issue day one policies because of the coronavirus. But there are still options out there. So if it's something that's really important to you, it's worth looking for.
Sounds interesting.
So how do I go about applying for an income protection plan?
There's lots of different ways that you can get a quote and apply for cover yourself. You could do it online. There's price comparison sites, Go Compare. If you don't want to set up a plan online yourself, only to find out that it doesn't do what you thought it did, like if you were to use self-raising flour in a recipe when it actually needed plain, because that's going to end up being a bit of a disaster, then obviously it's always worth speaking to a financial advisor for any help and advice. So then you haven't got to just make all those decisions on your own. You've got someone you can talk your situation through with and explain exactly what your situation is and have some helping advice to choose what level of cover you'd need.
That's great, Emma. Thanks very much.
And with that, we've completed today's recipe. We hope you have enjoyed following along with us today and cooking yourself one recipe closer to a financially secure future.
If you'd enjoyed today's podcast, you can head over to www.recipeforfinancialsuccess.co.uk, where you can find out more information and a full list of ingredients on today's recipe.
For more hints, tips and tasters, find us on Facebook at Your Recipe for Financial Success. Thank you for listening and see you next time.